So after watching The Danger of a Single Story and thinking about this idea of single stories and the power they have, and also the importance of representation, I wanted us to take a look at the kind of single stories we might be telling ourselves based on the media that we're consuming. So, for this PowerPoint presentation, I just want you to follow along and answer the prompts as we go. I'll give you some direction rather, when you need to pause and write. So just have a piece of paper handy or have a Word document up. You will be submitting this assignment to Canvas, so make sure you do participate in the prompts as we go. So first things first, I want you to take a minute or two and write down your favorite TV show or movie, or the last TV show or movie that you watched, but you want it to be one that you enjoyed, because I want you to write down the name of it, and then write down at least 5 to 10 things that you like about it. These can just be bullet points, but tell me 5 to 10 things you like about your favorite TV show or movie, or the last TV show or movie that you watched. You can go ahead and pause the video and take a second to write that down. So for the purposes of this presentation, I wanted to give you one of my favorite shows. It's actually just kind of the show that I'm watching right now. I'm watching through The Office for the first time. And so 5 things that I like about The Office are, 1, that it's fast-paced. The humor, is very fast-paced. It's in that mockumentary genre. I've already watched and liked Parks and Rec, so I was excited to try this show because it's in that same kind of format. There's characters you love to love, like Jim and Pam, and characters you love to hate, like Dwight. But there's those characters that you love to hate are also still redeemable, which I really enjoy. They still have these little moments of tenderness and kindness. There's also these short and long narrative arcs. Each episode feels contained and has its own A plot, but there's also the B plots that kind of run through the entire season or even across multiple seasons. So I like that there's both of those things involved in the show. So moving on to our next thought, now that you've thought about what show you like, what show you watch, or what shows you watch, I want to look back at these quotes from the Danger of a Single Story. So the speaker talked about when she was reading when she was younger, even though she was growing up in Eastern Nigeria, the books that she read were British and American. So they depicted white children. And so when the speaker started writing her own stories, her characters were all white children who ate apples and played in the snow and drank ginger beer and talked about the weather, which were all experiences that Adichie didn't have. She wasn't white, and she had never tried ginger beer. She didn't talk about the weather or play in the snow. But nevertheless, she wrote about these things because that's what she thought stories had to be about. She thought that they had to be about white children or experiences that were foreign to her, because that's all she knew. It wasn't until she got older and discovered African literature that she realized that girls like her and girls that looked like her and had experiences that were similar to her could also exist in literature. Once she realized that, her writing shifted, and now she does write about Nigerian people and people that have experiences that are similar to her. So with that in mind, I want you to answer one of these things. Think about the show or movie that you wrote down, and I want you to either tell me how you see yourself represented in that TV show or that movie. So do you see people that look like you? Do you see people that have experiences that are similar to you? And then if the answer is no, you don't see yourself represented in that, then I want you to do the other prompt, which is explain to me in a few sentences why you're still drawn to that show or movie, despite the fact that you don't see yourself represented in it. So you can go ahead and pause the video for like 5 minutes and write down your answer. So in thinking about our favorite TV shows and whether or not our favorite TV shows and movies, and whether or not we see ourselves represented in them, something that I was thinking about with The Office, especially with the mockumentary style, is looking at how often each of the characters on The Office speak. So on paper, The Office has a somewhat diverse cast. There's characters of color, there is an LGBTQ character. I'm only 3 seasons in, so I only know so much. But I was thinking about how much those specific characters talk in the show, how much airtime they actually get in the show. So I looked up how much each character on The Office talks, and I found this graphic that someone compiled that shows how many words each character says across the 9 seasons of the show. So if you're familiar with the show, you're not surprised to see that Michael talks the most. And then after him, you have Dwight, Jim, Pam, and Andy. So these are the 5 top talkers in the show. And then after that, we have all of these like secondary kind of background characters that pop in different episodes. So we can see that our characters of color, like Oscar, Daryl, Kelly, and Stanley, all have minimal roles as compared to the top talkers in the show. And Oscar is our only gay character on the show. And he is pretty low compared to, he only has 11,000 words compared to Andy, who is annoying, and has 43,000 words on the show. So there's a pretty big gap there. So even though we're looking at a show that has some diversity in the cast, as far as representation, they don't actually take up that much time they don't actually get that much airtime on the show. And I'm sorry for background noise, my cat's feeder just went off, so that's the noise that you're hearing, if you can hear that. So the point that I wanted to make with looking at this graphic is not that like The Office is a bad show, that it doesn't represent people, that we shouldn't watch it. I'm not trying to condemn or critique any of the things that you're watching. All that I'm saying is that looking at this, it made me realize that there are a lot of the media that I consume does star and have main characters that are white. And that's natural because I am a white person. Obviously, I'm going to be drawn to narratives of people that are similar to me and that have similar experiences and similar worldviews that I do. And just kind of experience life the same way that I do because I can relate to that. So that's content that I want to consume. However, in looking at the danger of the single story, if that's the only kind of media that I consume, then I'm kind of telling myself a single story. So the point that I want to make here is not that we can't consume this kind of media, but just that we want to be careful in seeking out media that also brings other stories into our life. So that you're not only consuming a story that is similar to yours, you're consuming stories of people who have different experiences than you and who look different than you and experience the world in a way that is different from the way you experience the world. So the last thing that I want you to do is take a couple minutes to reflect on what single story might your favorite show or movie be telling. Another way that you could think of this is what single story might you be telling in the media that you consume in general. So just like my single story, if I'm looking at the media that I consume in general, a lot of it has characters that are white. So I'm missing a lot of stories in there. If I only look at that media that I consume, there's a lot of stories that are missing. I'm missing stories of people of color, people of different genders, people of different sexualities. So there's lots of things that, lots of types of media and lots of types of stories that I could be more intentional about seeking out and adding into my media consumption so that I have a more diverse range of stories that I'm listening to. And again, this isn't a condemnation or a critique. It's just kind of a reflection, kind of thinking about what are the single stories that might be in our lives? What are the stories that might be missing from our lives? So take a couple minutes to reflect on that, just like 5 to 7 sentences. And once you're done with that, you can go to Canvas and you can click on the What's the Single Story assignment again, where you found this video. And you'll upload your assignment here. This is my view, but in your view, you'll have a Submit Assignment button up here. And you can upload either an image if you wrote this on paper, or you can upload a file if you did this in like a Word doc or a Google Doc or a Pages file. And as always, please feel free to contact me. You can shoot me a message on Canvas through the inbox, or you can email me and let me know if you have any questions.